We found a post on Twitter by NBA memes, which asks us, which of these young stars are you taking out? One gotta go. Did you find it difficult to select one player to send to the bench?
Yes, this is a bit challenging for me. I say that every time, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's very difficult to pick one young player when I know that the potential and the sky is still not the limit for them. They still have some growth. So it is hard. It was hard for me to select one player at this stage of their career to sit them on the bench. And when you think about the teams that they play for, their availability, the system that they're in, it just it's hard to compare, right? Some players have a more dominant role in their team than others, and it's not their fault. It's just that's how the team is structured, right? So, yeah, it was difficult for me to pick one. I have two. Can I put two?
No, it says one gotta go to the bench.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Okay.
All
Okay.
right,
Okay.
let's start
Okay.
with Luka Doncic here. I'm looking at Luka. We know what Luka has done for the Dallas Mavericks, took them all the way to the Western Conference Finals last season. First time
First
under
time.
his leadership, right? It was tough
Mm.
to send Luka to the bench.
Yeah. Yeah. No. The thought about sending Luka to the bench was tough, right?
Mhm.
And under his player ability, maybe I think leadership is questionable for me. When you use the term leadership when it relates to Luka Doncic, I think that he'll eventually improve on that. But I think that's one of the things for him that I see questionable in his NBA playing professional, him being a leader of his team. I don't see him as that. I see him being the most dominant player on his team. I see him being the most fundamentally skilled on his team. I see him leading the Dallas Mavericks to the finals championship. Now, whether or not they win is one thing. I see in Luka Doncic's future MVP, yes, for the league one season. I see that. He is very skilled. He's so crafty, but he's also slow, right? So if you want speed, you ain't gonna go with Luca. But if you need somebody to do the clutch, somebody to do some crafty moves, someone with some court vision, then Luca's your guy. So, and Dallas Mavericks franchise, they're building what they have around him. He is that guy for them. So yeah, Luca is a solid player for me. I mean, he sold me in 2022 playoff
Yeah.
run. So
Yeah. I could not send Luka Doncic to the bench. I mean, you're talking about a guy averaging 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. How do you do that? He led the NBA. He was a top 5 offensive leader in the NBA last season. Are you kidding me? I mean, at his size, 6'7", 230 as a point guard is so unusual. And you're right. He is his foot speed kind of lacks. And that's what worries me, as we move forward, because today's young guards, lightning quick, road runners, and Luca cannot keep up with them.
but I don't think he has to. That's why he's so crafty, right? He knows he knows how to move amongst speed. Like he knows how to do it. I think his skill level supersedes speed in some regard. And I
Mm,
think that gives him a leg up when we're talking about how deep someone can go, how deep the Dallas Mavericks franchise can go, right? Because is it really speed? How fast do you get there? I don't know. Do you get the wins first? So it may not matter. I can say that speed and explosiveness make the game fun to watch. I will give them that. Now, you may not get hype and super excited while watching Luca play, but if you want to see skilled play, if you want to see play that can get the job done, Luca is your guy. So yeah. Luca all right with me. He will not be on the bench for me. I'm just going to be honest. I ain't going to tell you who, but I can tell you right now, out of all the players, for me, he will not be on the bench.
yeah, it will not be Luca.
Will
Let's move on to LaMelo Ball, one of the top picks in the 2020 NBA draft. I mean, you're talking about a pretty good playmaker. I mean, with his experience, he has range, he gets the crowd going,
He does
but
get
he
it
has
going.
zero playoff experience. What do you think
Yeah,
about LaMelo?
I like LaMelo. I think he puts fans in stands. Him going to the Charlotte Hornets was perfect for their franchise when we're talking about, um, discussions, noise, interest in, basketball fans that really like kind of, it's like forget the Charlotte Hornets, if you're not in, North Carolina, you just, he's putting them back on the map, and so I think that his overall playmaking, his overall passing, his excitement that he brings to the Charlotte Hornets really has brought their franchise back to the forefront, I believe. And so I like what LaMelo brings to the table. I think that he has questionable defense, but I mean, at this point, is defense, does it really matter? It does in the playoffs. So let me just I'm going to say that. Does defense matter? Maybe not at the top of the season, maybe not even in the middle, but it matters in the playoffs. So I think that once LaMelo plays more, I think at this point, we're talking about what he's been in the season. He's going on his third season in the league. He's still
Mm-hmm.
young. He's
Yeah.
still young, still fresh on his NBA career. I mean, he got ways to go, So we'll see what that continues to look like. But LaMelo Ball, solid player. Yeah.
Interesting, when he first came into the league, head coach Steve Clifford at the time, he sat him down, did not allow LaMelo to start. And I think because LaMelo was very reckless with the ball, lots of turnovers, took lots of risks, that coach was like, I don't think I want this right now. So he actually sent LaMelo to the bench. But,
Yeah.
hey, let's talk about Trae Young, Ice Trae, the leader of the Atlanta Hawks. I think he's still the leader, even with DeJounte Murray there.
He still holds that position as we speak right now before the season starts. Yes.
Oh, so you
Yes.
think there's potential that he could
I
relinquish
don't know.
that role?
I don't know. I won't know until I see it. Right. But DeJounte Murray is nobody to sleep at.
Huh,
So,
yeah.
he's going to bring that dog because that's what he has. Right. And I don't think that there's a competition. It's just something to watch. So, yes, I believe the Hawks are Trae Young's team. I believe they are building around him. But Murray coming to that roster, I don't know. We'll see. Again, we'll see. I don't know. I'm not going to put that out there because I don't want that to be. I want them to be able to coexist, play well together. I mean, as you see with the acquisition of Donovan Mitchell to the Cavs, pairings of that nature, seems to be what the future looks like. So I'm with it. So yeah, we'll see how it works out. But I think Trae Young, his range alone, because he's shorter on the shorter side, I think he's like 6'1".
Mm-hmm.
His range, the way that he can shoot over anybody, gives him an advantage, right? It almost makes up for the fact that he's a shorty in the league. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times we talk about his range, and it is impressive. But I'm telling you, he was top 3 in assists for the
Mm,
NBA last season. And I think that
mhm,
gets overlooked a lot.
yeah.
And that's so impressive when you're his size and
Mhm.
you're able to funnel the ball through these, little holes. And, but the thing with Trae Young, he's a defensive liability, 6'1",
Oh,
164 pounds. What can you expect from a little guard like that
you know,
defensively?
I read an article. I read about basketball all the times, but I read an article. I don't remember who it was, and they were saying that one of the things that Trae Young can improve in is his ability to be like um, Steph Curry, where he knows how to utilize a floor when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. Like something about the way Steph moves around the court is something that Trae Young can absorb in his skill that may benefit him more when he's on, when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. And so I was like, that's pretty interesting. I think that because you can lose Trae Young on the floor when he doesn't have the ball.
You really can. Yeah.
You can lose. You're like,
Yeah.
where he go? Oh, because it's almost like it's first he has the ball dominant, he gets the passes, he makes the assists, and he's a great passer and all that good stuff. Then when it goes back on defense, you're like, oh, it's only 4 people on the court. I mean, it's just it can be a
Yeah.
challenge, and so I think that there's something that a downside that he has to his game. Again, he's still young, so I'm not saying that is it's going to end his career. No, I don't believe that. I believe that he will earn that over the years. Think about it. Steph Curry has been in the game for years, so it's all relative, right? But yeah, I think that he's a nice piece to have on your floor. So we'll see.
Yes. Yeah. Now this next guy, Morant. I mean, whew, talking about getting the crowd going. He is a people pleaser, facilitator, and finisher. Great rebounder at his size. Will meet you at the rim if he needs to. At 6'3", though, 174 pounds, he is rather small, but he still averages 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. had a monster season last season. What you think about Ja?
I like Ja. I mean, what? He is the most valuable player for 2022. He was your rookie of the year for 2020. Like, he is coming with the bag. And I am here for that. I think that his explosiveness, his ability, his speed is another thing that makes his game so exciting. One of the notable things, though, and this is probably an upside of the fact that he's very, that he has nice skill on the court, is that the way he has been able to market the Memphis Grizzlies, where him
Hmm.
alone has put the NBA on notice. For me, I don't know. I know the game of basketball is all about the actual ball and how it goes in the hoop, and I get that. But the fact that he was able to revive the Memphis Grizzlies franchise and put them in playoff contention, that and during the playoffs, and gave the Warriors a run for their money.
Sure did. Yeah.
I mean, what? So yeah, John Morant is that guy that I believe will continue to carry the Memphis Grizzlies, right? One of the things though that I think I was trying to think about what's a downside. It was hard for me to come up with a downside for John Morant because he just won most improved. Like, so anything I was gonna say, clearly he improved on. He is not perfect, and none of these players are perfect. I'm quite sure if we wanted to pick apart every player, we could, right? But in the grand scheme of things, he has been able to improve on those areas that he, were lacking in the previous season because he won the most improved award. So I was just like, for him, I just couldn't even say anything right now because I can see you can easily dispute that, right? So, yeah. But again, I'm gonna always say defense is gonna be it because it may not matter regular season, but the postseason it does come up. And so, if he continues to improve in that as well, he'll be fine. But he can get in them past.
Yeah.
I mean, getting past lanes, he'll steal your ball.
Oh,
You
yeah.
if you're not careful with the ball, he's gonna take it. Like, he's just and he's not fearful. He's gonna drive to the basket. I don't care who is guarding it. And for
Yeah.
me, that's huge. There's players that kind of shy away from that. So you know what they do? They hang out, mid range and hang out on the perimeter. Ja don't care. If I'm
Mm-mm.
if I don't feel my shot is in, I'm gonna drive it. You gonna catch this poster. you about to get you're gonna get posterized when I go to the basket. So I love that about him. And so yeah, John Moran he's all right with me.
Yeah, it was hard to find a downside for Ja. It really was. The only thing
Mhm.
would be his size, but he can't do anything about that, you
He
know?
makes up for it though, right? So
Mhm.
it'd be different if his size was a detriment to his playing ability, but it's not. He found a way to circumvent his size being an issue by being explosive, by being able to get to the rim, by being able to be, shift in between defenders because he's so quick. I mean, what? And he'll posterize you. So, and he has a great attitude, and his teammates love him, right? So the difference between for me when we're talking about um when I think about Luca and Ja, they kind of both have the same in a lot of ways. However, I know that Ja Morant is much faster than Luca because Luca is a little slow on the court. Doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Again, they find ways to get around that, right? I think one of the things that Ja has over Luca and LaMelo and Trey, as we're speaking so far, is that the likability of John Morant is much greater than the other players that we've spoke about previously. And because he's so likable, the fans love him, the players love him, the league loves him, and that's what made it easier for him to showcase his abilities. I just think it's great. He
Mhm.
just has an overall great that's what I get, that he has an overall great personality. He likes to have fun, although and still be competitive. I enjoy that about him. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get to see him on Christmas Day, a first for the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, you're
Once
talking about the
again.
revival, right? It's
Once
all Ja
again.
Morant.
Exactly. Yes.
Mhm. All right, so let's move on to Zion Williamson, often injured, played 85 games since the 2019 season. His last game, he was a monster. He scored 27.7 rebounds and 3 assists on May 4th of 2021. We haven't seen Zion on the court in a long time, but I still believe he has tremendous upside,
Me too.
loads of potential. Hopefully we'll get to see that next season, but Zion, I mean, woof, what a bully on the block.
What what a bully on the block, and what and what the league needs. We need young players to be just that as well, right? And I think that his only downside from the few games we've been able to watch, he's been in this league, he's going on his fourth season, only played two. In the first
Yeah,
season, he only played like 24 games.
yeah. This is,
So his lack of durability is his greatest downside. His availability is his greatest downside. It is not his skill from what his position is and what he brings to the floor. So, yeah, if he can get that together, if he can complete a season, and if he can help lead the Pels to a deep postseason run, it'll be all worth it. It will
yes,
be all
yes.
worth it. But yeah, yeah, Zion Williamson.
When we talk about reviving the franchise, I do believe Anthony Edwards has kind of pushed the Minnesota Timberwolves to the forefront, along with his supporting cast. Of course, Cat, they picked up Gobert, but Anthony Edwards is up and coming. I do believe he will lead them to maybe a second round of the playoffs next season. What do you think about Ant Man is what they call him.
I love his swag. I love his swag and I love his confidence. Because I read an article that he was like, I'm the best player. I'm gonna be, one of the you're gonna be talking about me as the best player. I'm like, okay. I can't wait to see it. I
Yeah.
just think that I have a hard time with the leading because of the roster that he's on. Not to his, issues, but just because he already has Karl Anthony Towns. And if we think about it, Pat Bev on that roster last season really also helped with bringing the Timberwolves to the forefront, right? You just can't discount the fact that that will it is still Karl Anthony Towns team or is it now Anthony Edwards team?
What I've seen from Anthony in the
Hmm.
playoffs last season, remember, he did not shy away. He did fantastic to be such a young guard. Now, granted, they did get kicked out in the first round, but he averaged 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. He was unafraid of the moment, talking his talk,
Yeah, I like
you
that.
know.
I
And
like that.
see, I think when you're vocal, when your
Uh-huh.
personality is outward, everyone assumes that you're the leader. I think Ant could potentially be the leader. I don't see Cat, you know, wrestling with him for that leadership role. So, yeah, I think Anthony Edwards, I think it's his team.
Yeah, and it did play in his favor when Karl Anthony Towns was shut down.
Shut down.
It
Yes.
did. It did. I'm sorry. He got shut down in the playoffs. It was hard to watch, but for Anthony Edwards, it allowed him to showcase, right? I think that's kind of where it came from. But Anthony Edwards, again, still young. I mean, what he was drafted in 2020,
Yeah, top
number
pick
one
in the
draft pick.
2020
Yeah.
draft. Yeah.
We're talking about early stages of his career. He's going into his third season.
Yeah.
We still got some, and he was able to get to the playoffs.
Hmm.
Some teams have not gotten to the playoffs. So, we talk about who got to the playoffs and got bounced in round one. They made it. They didn't go
Yeah.
deep, but they at least got there. And the reason why they were able to get there is because of him being on the court. I agree with that. So yeah, Anthony
Yeah.
Edwards.
So I'm wondering now. We talked about all these young players, future Hall of Famers, some of them. Which one of them would you push to the bench?
I have two. It was very difficult. I'm just gonna be honest. You guys, come on. We're talking about young players with a future in the NBA that is bright. How do you bench anybody? But everybody can't be on the court, not with these players. And non-negotiable benching for me was going to be Luka Doncic and John Morant. Non-negotiable. They will not. They're not even in any discussion when we're talking about benching, right? So let me just say that right there. However, who you got?
Oh my
I
goodness.
can't get enough. No,
I'm
I can
with
go
you
with.
on this one. I had a hard time selecting. I teetered and tottered between two players, and I said, but oh, this, that, other. I said,
Are Yeah, are we talking about right now, or is it right now, or is it for the like? What's the parameter? What's the
yeah.
parameter, and what are the circumstances?
Well, okay, but see, we know that these are mostly guards. The only big man technically is Zion Williamson. So we're not even thinking about position. Plus, it's positionless basketball most of the time in the
All the
NBA,
time,
right?
anyway, right?
So who did you pick?
No, you give yours. You always want
Oh
me to
my
go
goodness.
first. Nah,
Okay,
not this time.
okay,
Mm-mm.
okay. I sent Trey Young to the bench. Ouch. Yes, I sent Trey Young just because, I
Yeah.
mean, the blow by. Just the blow by. Like he cannot defend, but he can be my sixth man quickly,
That's a good
quickly
one.
off the bench. If LaMelo gets reckless, Trey Young come right on in and fill that slot. It hurts though because Trey Young did lead the Hawks. He led the Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple of seasons
Mm-hmm,
back. He
mm-hmm.
has playoff experience, but man, that defense, the blow by. I think he's the worst defender, the worst perimeter defender out of all the guys I'm looking at right now.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I picked. Here's the thing. I went with less experience. That's
Oh,
all. That's all.
okay.
I had to use experience as my measuring stick on who I would put on the bench, and I'm gonna go with LaMelo Ball. I put LaMelo Ball on the bench for the reasons you mentioned. That sometimes he can be a little reckless. Will he improve in that? Absolutely. I think that as he continues to play, as he continues to gain his experience, yes. But him coming off the bench for me would be more beneficial if I'm in the grand scheme of things. So only because that and his experience, I just think I can't
Hmm.
do Zion because oh my gosh, although we haven't seen him, I need that strength always. So yeah, I put Lamelo. Lamelo was the bench rider for me.
Yeah, LaMelo was my second pick if I
Oh,
had to. He was my potential. He was definitely potentially benched. But that's why I'm like, hey, if one of them is not producing, I'm going to
yeah.
send in the other. If Trey isn't, then
Uh,
LaMelo. LaMelo isn't, then Trey. So that was my logic. But LaMelo is 6'7",
yeah, he
you
is.
know?
Yeah, I
So it's
get it.
nice to have that as your point guard.
I agree. His height is his advantage. Yes, but my potential, I did have another potential. I considered Anthony Edwards. I
Wow.
did. I considered him. I didn't go with him, but and I mentioned experience. He's been, the more he's in the league, the more he plays, the more experience he garners. Of course, he's going to continue to get better. I mean, because he has that swag in him. Like you're not going to do one up on me. So I understand that. I kept him, of course, and it was just a difficult choice. But that was my potential if I had to select another person.